For the past 4 years, we've been living out of a two-wheel drive contractor van turned overlander while chasing adventure across the Americas. From the Arctic Ocean in Tuktoyaktuk, Canada, to the rugged southern tip of Argentina in Ushuaia, we drove our tiny home on wheels into some of the wildest and most remote corners we could find on the map. After 16 countries and more than 100,000 kilometers on the road, we've returned home with a lifetime of lessons learned. But we're not done traveling. We have driven all the way from north to south. Now, we're putting all of the lessons we've learned from that trip to build the ultimate overland vehicle that will carry us around the world. We're the SlowRoamers, and this is our World Tour build series.
Well, hey there folks, it's Alex here from the Alex Build Stuff Show. It's the show where I build stuff and I show you. As I mentioned last week, guys, we're going to be doing a little bit of accessorizing on Jerry, the Global Expedition build. Now, let's be frank, he doesn't look super good right now. He's patchy, he's dirty, he's missing paint, he's got those awful mirrors on the side. So we're gonna be doing a few changes so that he's just prettier to look at for the next little while before I can get him painted. So once we're done accessorizing and making the truck look a little bit prettier, we're going to head over to Lance's place. We're gonna get some tube bent up for rock sliders. And then when we come back, I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be able to get to it in this video, but we're gonna be doing some body work. Much like pretty much every single OBS Chevy out there, the cab corners are rotted on this truck. Now, they're not super bad, but there are rust holes there and they have to be fixed. Luckily though, I did buy cab corners so that I can get to work right away. I haven't done any kind of body work in a super long time, so this is gonna be a whole new learning experience for me. As well, I have a little treat coming, which I'm very, very excited about. I'm gonna show you guys at the end of the video. And yeah, let's get to it. All right, first things first, I'm really stoked about this. We got a new grill. So, fun fact, it turns out that Jerry is actually a GMC, not a Chevy. I hadn't actually looked at the paperwork until a little while ago and realized that he's a GMC, not a Chevy. Not that there's much of a difference, but I figured like a brand's appropriate grill was probably better, and I love this grill. If you guys follow Off-Road Designs or my buddy Dave from Willamette Off-Road in Motorsport or off Willamette Motorsport. Anyway, he's been driving around the Off-Road Design OBS Chevy and they've got this grill on it, and every single time I see that truck, I'm just like, oh, so hot. So anyway, we're gonna be installing this grill on Jerry as well. We've got some lights coming. We've got to put the winch on, install that, spool up the cable. Let's get to work.
I am pretty new to the Chevy truck world. Okay, let's say very new. And this hood thing is something that up until now was just something I saw square body guys deal with. Apparently, a sticky hood latch is a thing in the OBS line of Chevy trucks as well. A few tries, and I managed to get the hood up. No problemo. You know, it's funny how watching these build videos online, you get all of the satisfaction without any of the work. It always amazes me how many tiny processes there are to complete one task, and how much time it takes for each little thing. It's a ton of work to throw in filmmaking on top of all of that building. I honestly forgot how much work this is.
Alright, so before we go ahead and install the new grill on the front of Jerry, we're going to change up the lighting situation just a tiny bit. One of the things that we learned while we were on the Pan American Highway is that you don't actually use your auxiliary driving lights quite as often as you would expect. And that is simply because you just don't drive at night. It's a safety concern, it's not something that you want to do in practice. That being said, sometimes you do get caught out after dark and you need to be able to see a little bit further on down the trail, so we're definitely going to make sure we have at least some driving lights on the front of Jerry, just not as many as when we started out on the Pan American Highway. If you guys have been following along for a long period of time, you'll know that when we started the Pan Am, we had 4 7-inch rounds on the front of Betty, and it was just a tiny bit too much. I actually got rid of them because I thought that they might be blocking air to our radiator when we were overheating. I did happen to keep a 3-inch amber LED pod from Betty. I really like these lights, so I kept them and have them installed in this bumper. We've got a 7-inch round going here, and then the seal beam 5x7 is going to be replaced by an LED projector light. Not everyone is probably going to love my choice of light, but I don't care because it's my truck.
Now it's time to introduce one of the sponsors of this build, and it's the same sponsor that provided us with lights on Betty, and it's a company that I have a thing or two to say about. So this right here is the Auxbeam Ray L 7-inch LED spotlight. Per pair, they've got 25,800 lumens. They've got a built-in amber and white DRL, and they are a pretty good looking light. This time around, I wanted a slightly more classic looking light, nothing too fancy. I do really like the daytime running light. You can put those on obviously during the day and give your truck a little bit of like a futuristic look, I suppose. But otherwise, they're pretty classic. They're just 7-inch round. They've got a bunch of LED lights. And as you know, we're going for a slightly more classic look on the front of this truck. Today, I'm gonna be installing these and just roughly wiring them up so that we can turn them on and see what they look like. Later on, we'll be wiring them into this 8-gang switch panel from Auxbeam that they provided as well. And we'll be able to wire a whole bunch of other lights into this thing as well, which is super handy. I have a 6-gang version of this inside of Betty, and it was fantastic. It never failed me. And the cool thing about this is that you can actually control your daytime running lights from this switch panel. All right, let's get to installing these lights. I'll say it now, and I'll probably continue to ramble on about it in future videos. We are not building a show truck here. Although I like my vehicles to look good, I am primarily a function over form kind of person. I need stuff to work and to fulfill its purpose. No more, no less. So all that being said, we don't really need the fanciest lights with a beam that can be seen from space. We're not off-road racing, we're not going to SEMA, we just need a light that looks good and does its job. Next up, I'm installing new LED 5x7 projector lights. I wouldn't say they're the most retro looking, but I've always liked the 7-inch round headlights in older trucks, and these kind of get two birds stoned at once. Plus, they have a DRL similar to the Auxbeams and an integrated turn signal. I like that level of multifunction. I'm tossing the winch in there as well to get a little more weight on the front end, then peeling off the electrical tape I put on these lights in Argentina after getting pulled over by the cops for having auxiliary lights. And voila! Utilitarian and kind of sporty. I'll call it the Utilisport Retro Mod. What do you think? Alright, so I've run out of time here. I've got to load up the steel, get over to Land's Places to bend some tube, and then we'll get going again on finishing up this stuff and doing the rest of the little mods, and then we'll be taking a look at the rust and see what we can do there. Golly, ain't it nice having a good old pickup bed to chuck your stuff in? Well, that's enough talking from me. Let's get to some driving and enjoy the sultry sound of a loud and rattling Cummins 4BT. back at Lance's shop. Lance, what year is your truck here?
I believe it's a 52, but we're
1952.
yeah, we're still chasing down the paperwork and all that fun stuff.
What about the chassis?
That's a 2010 Chevy 2500.
So Lance is really good at grafting together old and new, as we already know. When I left Jerry with Lance, I knew I was leaving the truck in good hands. Lance has completed some pretty wild builds in the past, and I've seen his work on other clients' rigs, and it's always top-notch. It's a lucky thing that he's only a 20-minute drive away. I don't know anyone else close by with a tube bender, and being a friend, I can just tootle up to his place, shoot the shit with him, put back a couple shop beers, and leave him to work his magic. And then, just on time, another friend shows up to join in on the shop talk. Look who decided to join the party. You may remember Wes from a while back. He did some work on Betty before we left on the Pan Am and was the friend who delivered our Cummins 4BT to Lance while we were way down in South America. You can be sure that you'll be seeing Wes and his truck Buzz in future episodes to come. Finish up here at Lance's shop. It's time to head home. We got Wes out behind me. Gonna go get some dinner. All right. It has been a long time since I've been on an off-road camping trip with the boys, and one of the greatest feelings while driving to the trail is looking in your rear view and seeing a built rig or rigs following behind you. It's going to be a little while before we get Jerry on trail, but this little drive back home gave me a glimpse of those trips to come, and I cannot be more stoked. Just got home and Wes is already under the truck, ogling all the shiny bits and jewelry.
It's beautiful. A good build is a good build, and it makes me happy on the inside and on the outside.
Well, Wes is over there being all official on a meeting. Looks like he's having a ton of fun. All right, Russ. And I guess I'm going to unload this steel and get started on these sliders. Alright, so this is what we've got to work with for these sliders. I just went to Lance's place just to get the tube all bent up, and I'm going to cut and weld all of the rest. So we're doing a kick out, and this is also going to work as a large step that will be right behind the cab so that I can stand on this to push up the pop top if I need to. And then, yeah, I'll go into the remainder that'll go right under the cab here. So I just have to kind of figure out where my cuts are, and then cut it up, get the pieces in the middle, and then I think we'll be good to go. Woo! Excited about this. I haven't had nicely bent sliders like this in a good long time. I try to make bumpers and sliders the very first addition to a truck when I buy it. The bumper, for obvious reasons, to carry a winch, lights, and it just looks better. But sliders are an often overlooked piece of protection. Even in minor off-road situations, it's really easy to wrinkle a rocker panel or snag a tree and leave a dent. Those things aside, they're great for reducing rock chips and make it so much easier to get into the truck. And in the case of this truck, they'll work towards stiffening up the frame to reduce flex. All right. Looking pretty spiffy, I'd say. So all we gotta do now is one piece in the middle and then two on this end of the slider, and I've got plenty of material down here to do that with. Very nice. Much success. Gosh, I love movie magic. It sure makes things easy. Well, that's pretty much it for today. I've got the sliders all welded up. I'm just gonna throw a coat of primer on them and then probably paint them mostly tomorrow. And unfortunately, I won't be able to put these things on until we have finished. I've finished the body work on the cab corners. But yeah, I think they'll be on by the end of the week. So, see you tomorrow. So we're gonna go to the spit to take some photos of the trucks.
Yo.
And
sorry.
That works.
My bad.
And we're gonna do a truck swap. So I'm gonna drive Buzz. What is it? It's a Dodge.
First gen Cummins.
First gen Cummins Dodge, and he's gonna drive Jerry.
The 2/3 Cummins.
Yeah. Yes. So that's what we're gonna do now. I get to drive a big old 6BT. Woo! Oh, lordy. Oh, this is noticeably quieter than Jerry, that is for sure. A lot smoother too. Ooh, golly, that's a good looking couple of rigs there. I cannot wait to see them on trail.
The next morning was rainy, such a novelty after all the warm, dry weather we've had since being home. It felt like we needed something warm and cozy to munch on. I've been desperately trying to revive Chad, my sourdough starter, so I can finally start baking bread again. A year ago, I dehydrated him in our first air-conditioned room in Costa Rica. I had to do this so he would survive crossing the Darien Gap while Betty got shipped in a container. After shipping, I just didn't have it in me to get back into sourdough. And honestly, I'm glad I didn't, because baking sourdough at elevation would have been a whole thing. So right now, I'm feeding Chad every day, trying to bring him back from a year-long slumber, which means I've got a lot of discard to use up. Enter gingerbread banana loaf. I've never added molasses to banana bread, but I had an open jar from some sourdough ginger snap cookies I recently baked, so in it went, along with cinnamon, ginger, and clove. And because texture is everything, I topped it with a crunchy almond and coconut sugar streusel. Chad isn't quite ready for bread yet, but at least he's making himself useful.
Alright guys, it is time to remove the box
and push it backwards so that I can get in at the cab corners. It is bodywork time, which I'm not looking forward to it. So the nice thing about these older model pickup trucks is that a lot of the typical problems have already been identified and, you know, addressed. And so you can buy just bits and bobs and pieces of the cab off of the internet to replace. So this right here is the cab corner. It goes right here. All I have to do is trace this, grind it all down, and then tack weld and tack weld and tack weld and tack weld until this is in there and solid. I bought this off of Amazon, believe it or not, which is pretty funny. And yeah, I got a hole like right down here in the corner, so I'm gonna have to patch that with some 16th inch steel or something. That's the lightest stuff I have right now. So yeah, it's been a long time since I've done bodywork. Let's go!
I don't usually do a lot of bodywork. For this job, I'm pulling from the last two and only projects involving bodywork that I have had in my life. Thomas, my old 88 Toyota pickup when I had to fix all the rust in the box, and my first Toyota 4Runner when I was 19. I repaired the rust in front fenders. Back then, I had no AI, a significantly smaller collection of YouTube videos, and a lot of forum reading to teach me how to do bodywork. It mostly just came down to me making things up and hoping they worked. I got the job done, and I guess it looked pretty decent.
My dad made this welding cable holder right here. This is an old chair back that he found in the woods when they moved here. It's kind of cool. Gotta love repurposing everything. Go, we're all loaded up for Trio. Alright, this is really scary. This is gonna be a really, really big hole. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Ah! Cool. Surprise! Oh, that's a lot of rust. Oh. Yeah, look at all that.
I removed as much of the surface rust as I could and then started into sealing it back up.
Okay, so I think I'm pretty close to ready to go here. All of the paint ground off of my replacement panel, and then I've drilled holes down here for spot welds. That'll just help it keep it in place, and then I will weld along the edge. I've cleaned off all of the paint here. So yeah, let's, I guess, officially start doing some body work now.
I will make note that once both sides are done and I have the stuff that I need to do the job, I'll be taking a page out of Cameron from Road After Wrenching's book and coating the interior of the rockers with fluid film, so that at the very least there's some level of rust protection throughout that entire cavity. It's not something that I have done on any previous vehicle, but when I saw Cameron doing it to his Toyota 4Runner, I thought it would be a good idea for Jerry since we want to use this truck for many years to come.
Well, after half an hour of welding, tacks and stuff, that's the end result. Doesn't look beautiful, but it rarely ever does. After you've tack welded a bunch of very, very thin metal, I will grind this down tomorrow fix any pinholes, and then kind of make it look pretty-ish. Probably cover it with some body filler just to make sure that it's waterproof. I'm happy with it. It'll look a lot better once I'm done with it tomorrow though. Alright folks, we're back in the shop here. I'm going to get going on grinding down those little tack welds that I made yesterday, get it all smoothed out, fill in any pinholes, and hopefully I will be at the other corner shortly after. But before we get to grinding, I just wanted to bring a little thing to your attention. So I checked on our analytics today, and most definitely less than half of you watching right now are actually subscribed to our channel. And if you guys like what we're doing and you want to support us in some little way, or just see more of what we're doing, the easiest thing and the most free thing you can do to support us is just hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and share our videos around. We are pretty close to 100,000 subscribers, and we would love to make that number by the end of the summer. So if you want to help us out by doing that, just hit that subscribe button. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's get to grinding.
Bodywork sacrificed to the metal gods. Oh yeah!
Well, I've got it to a place that I'm happy with. Like I've said before, I don't build for perfection. I kind of build, I want to say like bush adjacent. So like a truck that looks good on the street but is mainly meant for back roads and bushwhacking and stuff like that. So that is totally fine with me. And now I've got to fill this big huge hole down here that I've created. This was all rusted out, so I have to kind of make some metal origami to fill it up, which that's going to be fun because all of this is insanely thin. Alright, so that's the hole that I got to seal, and I've made the starting of a patch that is going to go right in there, and I'm just going to weld this right over top because I'm pretty sure that all of this material is too thin to really weld to. I'm just going to blow through. So if I have a thicker piece, this is 16 gauge, to put heat into, then I should be able to just bring over the bead and melt into this a little bit, and it'll just be a stronger part of the body. Great. Alright, well there's the finished product. It's not pretty, but it's sealed.
Unlike the driver's side, where it was quite obvious someone had been in there and attempted to repair it, the passenger side was in far better condition and actually came apart and went back together fairly easy.
Well, that's the second side done. Just gonna hit it with some primer and call it done. Put a kind of big patch on the back right here, as you can see. That's just to kind of strengthen this area. It's gonna be behind boxes. I don't really care. No one's gonna see it.
Next step was making plates for the sliders. I don't know if this is strictly necessary, seeing as the frame on Jerry is already 3/16 thick, but it won't hurt to weld these plates onto the frame to mount the posts for the sliders just to be sure it's extra strong.
Well, it's a hot and beautiful day. It's time to go to the lake, and Meg is driving. Wish us luck. That's a stick shift right there.
This is the kind of thing we both dreamed of while we were away on our last trip. The summer that we spent on our little island while we were building out Betty the second time was one of the best summers of my life. Both the ocean and crystal clear spring-fed lakes are in close proximity to my parents' place. So when it's stinking hot outside, we just hop in the car and rip over to a water source to cool off. It's summer vibe perfection.
Holy heck, it's been a while since we've been here, eh?
And
Go away,
windy.
wind.
As it turns out, the lakes haven't really warmed up yet, and this turned into a bit of a cold plunge. Unfortunately, the bodywork wasn't quite done yet. Before putting the sliders on, I decided to quickly sand off some rust on the rocker and lower lip of the door and discovered another hole. This little hole quickly turned into a much bigger hole, and I found myself cutting a rather big patch to put over it.
Well, just threw a quick and dirty patch in there, and I will clean it up a little bit more when it comes time to actually paint the whole door jamb, and I'll smooth it out a little bit more, I think. But there's no more rust there. That's what we want.
Lastly, it was time for one of my least favorite jobs, welding on sliders. At least this time I did it a little bit smarter and cut posts with the proper angle to them, checked the fitment, tacked the posts in place, and then welded them on the bench instead of trying to do it under the truck. But nevertheless, I still hate this job.
Oh, I do like that. I do like that. Straight as an arrow. Oh yeah! Who done that?
With the sliders on, Dad and I got the box put back in place and bolted back down, and then we got our first look at the sliders with everything buttoned up. I think that they look pretty sharp, if you ask me.
Well, that pretty much concludes the metalwork for this stage of the truck. Next week I'm going to be diving into the interior, and then after that we're going to be starting the flat deck build. But the interior might be a two-parter because I think it's going to be a pretty big job that's not going to get complete in a week's time. I was going to get the lights working and roll up the winch cable and all of that stuff in this episode. I had hoped for that, but I'm just running out of time. I've got to get editing on this video and starting on to the next thing. And the other thing is that it's been brought to my attention that I might have the winch mounted incorrectly, so I probably have to address that. We'll do it later. We'll wire up the lights next time. I think I got to reposition them as well because I can't get the cables out the back and into the grill. So yeah, that is it. But last things last, I guess. If you guys tuned into what I said at the start of this episode, that I have a little treat for you, and you guys have made it to the end, congratulations. We're gonna do a little treat now. Maybe it was my treat, but yeah, anyway, I'm excited. That's right, it's new wheels and tires time. So those are Yokohama Geolander MTs. They're a proper 35 by 1250 17, and I have wanted to put those tires on my truck forever. I've never had a chance to have a vehicle with the Geolanders on them. I bought these secondhand off a guy down in the valley. My best buddy Matt picked them up for me, held them for ages, and then finally my parents picked them up from the lower mainland. So big thank you, Matt, for picking those up for me. And I got them mounted on just good old like winter steelies that happen to 17s, 8-bolt Ford bolt pattern and all that. So yeah, let's get them on the truck and see what it looks like. So you might remember that a couple videos back, Lance mentioned that we put power stop brakes on the truck. So we are actually working with power stop again, and I have to say, and this is not like I'm obligated to say this, but when we were doing our Pan Am trip, we had power stop brakes on the van, and they worked fantastic. Keep in mind that the van was heavier than this truck is going to be. We were all brakes all the time in the Andes, and those rotors did not warp. We went through brake pads, but the rotors did not warp. And I was so impressed that I reached back out to the Power Stop guys and I was like, I gotta put your brakes on the truck because they work so good. So take it from me, I have a lot of real world experience with these brakes and they are fantastic. Cool, let's put these tires on.
The inspiration for the steel wheels came partly from my love for the style of a good old steel rim, but also from the one and only Dan Grech. He has always run steel wheels on his Jeeps, citing their ease of repair. Although cracking or breaking an alloy rim is somewhat unlikely but not impossible, by now you should know that I love functionality and I want to be able to repair everything while out in the bush. It's pretty hard to weld aluminum or to find someone to weld aluminum in most countries around the world. So classic steel it is, and I ain't mad about it. This tire and rim combination looks fantastic.
Oh my gosh, it looks so good. Look at that beastie. Freaking Jerry beast mode. Wow. Freaking dream truck activated. Hot dog. Oh man. This just makes me so happy. Well guys, that is it for this one. Oh my gosh, Jerry looks so freaking awesome. I am absolutely thrilled with how good those tires and wheels look with the sliders. I mean, the truck is like really tying together now, which is, oh, it's so good. It's so good. I'm so thrilled. But I did just realize that I forgot to change out those horrific mirrors. So I guess I'm just gonna have to do that in the next one. And the next one, of course, is we're redoing the entire interior, and that's going to be a big job. So come along for it. It's going to be great. Yeah. Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for watching to the end. We appreciate all of you, and a big shout out to all of our patrons out there supporting us. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.
If you have made it this far in the video, we just want to sincerely thank you for watching to the very end. I know these last few videos have been pretty collaboration and promotional content heavy. I'll admit that I don't enjoy people trying to sell me things, and thus I don't really enjoy doing it myself. But the reality is that this project is expensive, and traveling around the world is expensive, and promoting products is just one way we're making ends meet. Your patience as we build and source good products and then promote them is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for being here, and we will see you in the next one.